So, are you waiting on the world to change? Are you waiting on something to change out in that world so your life can work? I know I've lived like that a lot of my life. And let me give you a couple scenarios to see somehow if this fits for you. We wait around for that perfect job, that job that's going to pay us really well and that is just the meaning of our life. And then we wait around for that job to end. I can't wait to get out of this job. When am I going to get able to retire from this thing? We wait around to have kids. I know if I have children, that'll make my life meaningful. And then we wait around for those children to leave. I can't wait till these kids leave. Oh my gosh, when do I get my life back? A lot of parents chuckling here. And then we all know the one, we're waiting around for that relationship. That relationship, that's going to make everything in my life so peaceful and meaningful. I'll have a great person to talk to all the time. When is this person going to change? How do I get this person out of my life or get me out of my life? Or, I'm waiting for this thing to change. So as Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? Waiting for the world to change. It's not a very powerful position. It is that backward way we live life, that we want something out there to change so we feel better, rather than understanding that we are the place, we are the source of that co-creative energy. And as we shift our idea about ourselves, then the world changes. So I'd like from this day forward to use wait as an active word rather than a passive word. Wait, W-A-I-T, we're going to use it for willingness, awareness, imagination, and transformation. Did you have to wait too long for that? Willingness, awareness, imagination, and transformation. So let's look at this word wait, and let's use it as something as a spiritual tool rather than something that we're sitting, expecting something to change outside of ourselves. So willingness. Willingness is that word, being willing, will shift the way you see things. I'd invite you for the next 20 minutes to allow yourself to imagine something that you're waiting on to change. Either a person or some situation in the world or something about yourself that you can't be happy until this thing happens. And to ask yourself if you would just be willing to consider this differently. Can you open your mind a bit to see this differently? I have a good friend who was telling me about his grandchildren the other day. And it reminded me of this way that we make whatever we're looking at, this problem that we want to change, the focus of our life. So this little 3-year-old is all into trains. Trains are his whole world. And he is 3 years old, and he has a little sister who's 1, who has just learned to walk. Well, Noah had his train set all set up and was playing with his trains. And then Naomi, his little sister, who doesn't seem to have much an appreciation for trains, she just learned to walk, comes walking through, and messes up the whole train set. So Noah's mom comes in, Noah's all upset, and his mom says, Noah, what's going on? And he said, she messed up my train set. And she said, yeah, I see that. And he says, but that's my entire life. So that Noah, he always gets a laugh. So the idea is that what are we making our entire life? Because often that thing we want to change, that's all we're talking about. I know 10 years ago I had a big heartache, and it was kind of all I could talk about for a while. And people would see me, months and months after this, and it's still all I was talking about. And people said, Heidi, I get it, you need to grieve, but you may want to move on, because that's all you're talking about. That's your entire life. And as I was willing to see that there was other things going on in my life, except for that one thing, then I was able to not have to wait for the world to change. And I was able to see that within me, that there was so much more to my life. So I'd like you just to close your eyes for just a moment as we're in this sense of willingness, and focus, ask yourself that question: what comes to you when you think of that thing you want to change, waiting for that thing to change? And am I willing to expand my consciousness around this? Am I willing to see this differently? And just take a breath. Okay, so open your eyes. And you're the one that can say yes to that. You know, in the 12-step program, they say willing as only the dying can be. And what they mean by that, most people have to hit a bottom before they're willing to change, and we all seem to have to do that before we're willing to change. But the thing is, we have to die to that old self to let this new idea come to us. You know, the problem that was created with that old mind, a new mind has to come for this willingness to be created, this newness to be created. You know, Jesus told us that it was the Father's good kingdom to give you, it was your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. You know, we've been given this kingdom. We have all that we need, but our willingness to see life as this thing that really works is a muscle that we don't practice very often. You know, Anais Nin said that pretty soon the risk of staying in the bud is more painful than the risk to blossom. So are we willing to blossom? Are we willing to say, you know, I know there's more to this than it needs to change for me to be happy? In fact, willingness, see, some angel got its wings there with that little bell. Willingness is an experience of opening up, of blossoming. And the main thing we have to be in this phase of willing is willing to be okay with change. To be okay with change. The Daily Word was on that today, that every day is full of change. So can we just be okay with change? You know, we think we want the world to stay in this little thing like Noah with his train. But did anybody see the movie Groundhog Day? No, every day he wakes up, he's like, oh my gosh, it's the same day. It's Groundhog Day again. I know what's going to happen. And was that a happy experience for that character Bill Murray played? No, he was miserable. He's like, oh my God, I even know the answers for Jeopardy. Get me out of this day. So we want to be okay with change. We want to embrace change. And not wait for the world to change, but embrace that change is our way of living. There's a number of quotes in the bulletin. Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. There's another one that says, surrender who you are for what you can become. And one of my favorites, change is inevitable, except for from a vending machine. I have a little humor here.